two competing narratives: the followers of Jewish Messiah Yeshua and the followers of the rabbis who rejected this Messiah. Both see their roots and authority in the Hebrew scriptures. Discover Yeshua in the Rabbinic text.
Yeah, Golan, so I wanted to ask you about the temple and what happened there when Yeshua was crucified.
Yes, so we read in the New Testament, and maybe you can read it in Matthew 27:51. Matthew 27:51. There's a few things that happened there in the temple. What does it say?
So it says here, "And behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split."
Yes, so we see that strange things happened, and one of them was that the veil was torn open. Now, most of the scholars believe that Yeshua was crucified in the year 30. And why is it interesting? Because the Talmud, and in a minute I'll ask you to tell us what it says, but the Talmud portrays things that happened 40 years before the temple was destroyed. Now, if the temple was destroyed in the year 70, then 40 years before the temple was destroyed is exactly the year 30. So I want you to tell us, what does Tractate Yoma in the Talmud, this is the Babylonian Talmud, rabbinic literature, what does Tractate Yoma tell us about 40 years? What happened in the temple 40 years before it was destroyed?
Okay, so I'm reading, and it says here, 40 years prior to the destruction of the second temple, the law for God did not arise in the high priest's right hand at all. So too, the strip of crimson wool that was tied to the head of the goat that was sent to Azazel did not turn white, and the westernmost lamp of the candelabrum did not burn continually. And then it says also that, and the doors of the sanctuary opened by themselves, as a sign that they would soon be opened by enemies, until Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai scolded him. He said to the sanctuary, "Sanctuary, sanctuary, why did you frighten yourself? I know about you that you will ultimately be destroyed." And
yes, so ultimately you will be destroyed, temple. This is what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is telling the doors of the sanctuary when they're going mad, yeah, but they're going crazy. And this is 40 years, I remind you, and this is 40 years before the destruction of the temple. All these weird things happened 40 years before, in the year 30, in the year when scholars believe that Yeshua was crucified.
wow, I want to ask you, what does these signs, mean? Yeah, what they mean.
So there's an Israeli rabbi, actually he's also a PhD, he's a scholar, but he's a rabbi. His name is Benjamin Lau, and he answered exactly that question. The question was why weird things happened in the temple 40 years before it was destroyed in the year 30. Why all these things happened? And what is the answer can you paraphrase the answer that he gives?
Yeah, he says that, and the temple doesn't have anymore the Spirit of God there, and it's like there's nothing to look for there. Yes,
he says there's no use of the temple anymore in the year 30. We're not talking about the destruction. We're talking about 40 years before. And this rabbi is saying, this Israeli contemporary rabbi is saying, because even in the year 30, the temple was of no use anymore. It was gone.
Wow. But how come the Talmud or the rabbinic literature doesn't say anything about the veil that was torn?
Yeah, so you're right. It doesn't say anything about the veil like the New Testament, but don't you think it's a coincidence that exactly when Yeshua was crucified, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had to rebuke the doors of the sanctuary because they were going crazy?
No, I don't think that was a coincidence. But I have a different question about the role of the Messiah and the Torah. So yes, Golan, I wanted to ask if, according to the rabbinic traditions, we see that the Messiah needs to bring a new Torah or a new testament.
Yeah, so first, according to the New Testament, we see that the Messiah brings some kind of a new testament, a new teaching. And you can maybe read from Hebrews chapter 8, verse 13, because there I think it articulates exactly what we're talking about.
So yeah, he's starting from a quote from Jeremiah 31, and then he says, when he said a new covenant, he has made the first obsolete, but whatever is becoming obsolete and growing old is about to disappear.
Yes, so we see that the Messiah definitely brings a new teaching, a new testament, a new covenant, and you're asking if we can find it also in rabbinic literature, that there's a notion of the Messiah bringing some kind of a new Torah or a new teaching. Now I want you to tell us first. We'll see the opposite notion, because the Rambam, Maimonides, is saying exactly the opposite. And can you tell us in one of his books, this rabbi from the 12th century AD, what is he saying according to the Torah of Moses?
Yeah, and he says is there here that we can even think about that the Messiah will do some miraculous things or even bring a new Torah, right? He says that the Torah will never change.
Yes, so the Rambam said the Torah will never change, and don't even think that the Messiah will perform miracles or bring some kind of a new Torah. The Torah will never change. This is according to the Rambam. But I want to give you a few examples from the rabbinic literature prior to the Rambam, before the Rambam, that says exactly the opposite. So I want you to tell us, for example, what does the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, says in Tractate Shabbat? And you can paraphrase because you're reading the Hebrew. What does it say about the days of the Messiah? Yeah, so Oren, please read from Tractate Shabbat, from the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Shabbat, 151, page B.
Yeah, so one of the rabbis, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, his name, says here that these are the days of Messiah, in which there is neither merit nor liability.
Yes, so contrary to what the Rambam is saying, this rabbi from the Talmud, before the Rambam, is saying in the days of the Messiah, as you said, there's no, how did you call it?
There is no merit nor liability.
Yes. Now, I want you to read another quote from the Talmud. This time it's Tractate Nidah 61, page B, and they say what?
Yeah, they say almost the same thing, that all the obligations, all the commandments are going to vanish, right?
Vanish in the future, and they mean the future, they mean in the times of the Messiah. Now, in a Midrash, a rabbinic commentary, a Midrash Kohelet Rabbah, chapter 8, what do they say about the Torah that somebody learns in this world, the Torah of Moses?
Yeah, it says that if you compare it to the commandments of the Messiah, these commandments are like vanity, right?
Yeah, they said that the Torah that somebody studies in this world is vanity compared to the Torah that the Messiah will bring. Yeah, and this is rabbinic literature before the time of the Rambam, where the Rambam just said there would not be a second Torah or a new Torah, and the sages are saying exactly the opposite. And again, I want you to read now from a different midrash, and we're giving more and more examples of the fact that there is a new Torah, a new kind of testament in the days of the Messiah, even according to rabbinic literature. So this time, if you can read from Midrash Otzrot Achrit Hayamim, a midrash of the last day's treasures. What does it say there?
Yeah, so it says here that in the days of the Messiah, the evil inclination will vanish from the world, and we won't have to do any commandments, right? Because of that.
There will be no more commandments because there will be no more sin. This is what the rabbis is saying. And a Jewish, by the way, religious professor, Ze'ev Safrai, from Israel, is quoting this verse, and he's saying, according to this rabbinic midrash, he's saying the commandments will disappear in the future, even in spite of what the Rambam is saying. He's quoting the Rambam, and he's saying, in spite of what the Rambam is saying, in other words, the Rambam is wrong, because when the Messiah comes, this professor is saying, according to rabbinic literature, when the Messiah comes, there will be a different Torah. There will not be the old commandments or the Sinai commandments anymore.
Yeah, but when we read the things that Rambam said and the 13 main points that he was developing, yes, he says there that we need to believe that the Torah will stay with us forever, right?
Yep. So in a different place, in a different book, the Rambam clearly said, I believe in I wholeheartedly believe that this Torah, the Torah of Moses, will never be changed. But I'm glad you reminded me that, because there's another midrash that says exactly the opposite, and I want you to tell us, what does Yalkut Shimoni, it's a name of an ancient rabbinic midrash, what does Yalkut Shimoni says exactly about this?
So he says there that God himself sitting up there and preparing a new testament, a new Torah that will come with the Messiah.
Yep. So contrary to what the Rambam is saying, this midrash is saying that God sits in heaven and he's planning a new Torah that would be given by the Messiah. And the same thing is in Midrash Eliyahu Zuta. Actually, word by word. Again, it says the Lord,
thing,
God is sitting in heaven and writing or thinking about a new Torah that he would give by the Messiah. And the final place I want you to read is from, again, Otzar Midrashim, the treasures of the Midrash. And what does it say there? That God sits in heaven, and what does he do?
It sits, and it says here that he sits in front of all the righteous people, and he talks with them, and he shows them the New Testament that the Messiah in the future needs to bring, right?
He shows all the saints in heaven the New Testament or the new Torah that he will bring by the Messiah. And this is rabbinic literature. This is not from the New Testament.
But wait, you don't think that the rabbis or the rabbinic traditions meant to say that also the kosher food will vanish or something like that, right?
Well, it's good that you reminded me that, because actually they do say it, and I want you to read Psalm, I think it's Psalm 146, which verse is it? Maybe verse 7, and tell us what the rabbis say about this Psalm.
Yeah, so they take the words, the Lord frees the prisoners, and means the Lord let the prisoners go, right?
This is what the Psalm means.
Yes,
the Lord frees the prisoners. But what do they say?
Yeah, and he says that every unclean animal that was unclean in this world will be clean in the next world, right?
Yeah, so they do a play on words, because free the prisoners. The prisoners in Hebrew is like forbidden. So the rabbis are saying, if the psalmist is saying free the prisoners, he's saying God is making what was unkosher, he's making it to be kosher in the world to come, in the times of the Messiah.
Wow, you think the pork too?
You're saying even do the rabbis mean even the pork? Even the pork would become kosher? Well, there's actually a midrash that says exactly that, and I want you to read a really important rabbinic commentator. His name is Rabbeinu Bechayei, and he has a commentary about an ancient midrash, and he refers exactly to the pig, to the pork. And what does he say?
Yeah, so he says here that the name of, or even asks why the name of the pork in Hebrew is chazir.
Chazir in Hebrew is from the word return, coming back. So the rabbi is saying, why was the pork, the pig, is called chazir, coming back? Why? Because in the days of the Messiah, in the future, he will come back. He will return to become kosher. Now, again, this is not the New Testament. This is rabbinic literature.
Wow. You know, from all the things that we went through, I think I have one more question.
One final question?
One final question, yeah. Do you think that the rabbinic literature also referred to the Messiah as a light to the nations?
A light to the Gentiles?
Yes, a light to the Gentiles.
Oren, that's a great question. But with your permission, we'll keep it
for next time.
Amen.